Hello all, welcome to another video. Been trying to figure out how to set this camera up in a way to clearly show you guys, clearly is going to be the keyword on this, to show you guys what I do, what my method is, how I do it. I guess we all have our own ways of doing things, but have you ever had those amps come in where the transistors that are so stuck to the Silpad that you have found your particular ways of breaking the transistor trying to get it free? After much trial and error over the years, finding the best, quickest, least destructive method of getting the transistors off of this Silpad. I'm not sure if you guys can see. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, this stuff right here. This is a Silpad 900 kind of series insulator. And when you don't use thermal paste, just a really thin coat of oil behind these transistors, the transistor itself will literally get stuck to that Silpad. It just makes such a great bond, which is good because that's what you want, transfer that heat. But at the same time, for repairability, it is literally a pain in the butt. It's, yeah, and you guys know that even for gap pads, 10 times worse. But I have a solution to that also, where you can, my method of getting a transistor off of gap pad without destroying the transistor or destroying the gap pad. I have a method on that too. I'm not sure if I have a video on that, but I'll get one released for you guys. But this video is, since this is a very particular method, these are TO220 transistors that are used in this amplifier. I'll just let you guys know, this is the Memphis MCD1500 point. Whoa, hold on. Point one? Yes, obviously. Point one, yes, because it goes into single relay, so parallels. So yeah, sorry guys, it's early. Where's my coffee? I'm missing my coffee. Oh my gosh, see, typical busy day. All right, so I have two tools that I use to safely dislodge the transistor from the gap pad, or the Silpad. Yeah. So I'm going to attempt to do this in a way that you guys can see what I'm doing. I can't see what I'm doing, but you guys can see because my camera is set up in a way that, yeah, not very fun. Hold on, maybe I can put something underneath this just to prop it up just a little bit for me here. Oh, and I've set my camera here. I've turned the auto exposure off, and I've turned the brightness down just a hair. So maybe this camera here will be a little bit more friendly to me. All right, so I've already done the one side, the side that you can't see, of course. When I realized, hey, Todd, maybe you should show people what you're doing. I'll show you what I'm doing. Little flat blade screwdriver, really small. I mean, this is really, I think key is size on this. It's really even kind of hard. I don't have my micrometers over there, but you can see this, the flat part of that screwdriver is extremely small. Precision. I like precision. So what I do is I take that flat part of the screwdriver and just place it on the outside edge of the top of that transistor on the side, not touching the gap pad, and then I literally just tap it. Then it'll make a little pop. It'll actually kind of play a little tune for you. It'll pop. It'll go ting. You'll hear that, just that little ting. And that little ting tells you that that transistor is no longer bound to that gap pad. Gap pad. I keep calling it gap pad now. Silpad. It literally just takes a small little tap sideways. I used to tap it on the top, but what I found over time is when I tap it on the top, it actually bends the legs. It doesn't bend it to a point where it's a concern, but I start to think to myself, well, I'm putting downward force jamming that leg up on the plastic casing, which isn't good. So don't tap down on it to release it. Tap on the side to release it. It's a lot safer to put side pressure on these transistors than it is downward pressure. And these transistors are already loose from this gap pad. At least these outputs are. The goal is to not damage the Silpad. Sorry guys, I have gap pad in my brain now. The goal is to not damage the Silpad. It's always good, you know, when you guys are doing this as a business, you know, I'm sure you guys already know to have, you know, your Silpad handy, ready to go. So this guy right here, this is probably a TIP. It is bound to that Silpad, so I'm just gonna, on the side, not touching the Silpad. Bink! I just heard it go pop. So that means it's probably free. It sure is. So it's just that little pop. Same with these plastic encased ones. Do a little pop. Little pop. Little pop. Free from that Silpad, and there is not a scratch on the Silpad. None of the Silpad is missing. None of it is scarred. No cuts in it. Looking, what we call looking fantastic. That is how I release transistors off of Silpad. And I've already done this side here. You can see this side here. It's free all the way across. No damage to the Silpad. Well, at least not from the transistors. I did nick it right there when I pulled the clip. But looks fantastic. This is a typical Memphis repair. The capacitors in these things are absolute garbage. Let me see if I've already done the power supply card. If you guys are finding, let's see if I can show you. I know I'm kind of sidetracking. This went from how to remove a transistor to showing you what I find on these MCDs here. So when you start to lose the 494 capacitor, not lose, when it starts to sway in value, the capacitor that controls the dead time of the 494, you'll start. I think this is what I'm assuming is it gets to a frequency to a point where your snubber just becomes very, very unhappy. You like my politically correct terminology for you guys? So this snubber capacitor right here decided it did not like the frequency or the voltages present. It's a 400 volt film, so yeah, it probably was frequency related. That was the first thing that came up in my mind, is frequency. And I tested this capacitor and it came up as like some nanofarad, 200 nanofarad. I'm like, oh, the timing capacitor is like completely dried up. So yeah, no shorts in the output, which is good. I do have to rebuild. I get this question a lot. Let me see if I can straighten my brain out. This isn't the same card, but it's the same concept of those cards. that people will email me on about rebuilding. And yeah, this is one version of an output drive card that, I don't want to say they're garbage. Man, they run so dang hot that these things are just, they're failures waiting to happen. And the capacitor, you could just see the capacitor, even the film has shrunk up on this. It's gotten so hot. So really, IC-wise, this thing is still functional. It just needs a massive capacitor overhaul. And, you know, these little capacitors are, I mean, they're just everywhere. Why would they use electrolytics right here when knowing that these cards will run so hot that it discolors? Yeah. So it really comes down to you have good components, make sure you don't damage the components, don't damage the insulation. I've had Memphis amps come in, like those chrome, I think they're 1500. Those chrome ones come in where people, I don't know, have tried to repair it themselves, but what people don't understand, or a lot of people don't get, is the backside of these transistors here have voltage on them. That's why you have this nice insulation, we're just going to call it tape, in between the transistor and the heatsink. Yeah, if you don't insulate those two things and you go to fire this thing up, boom, you're going to lose your outputs. Or you're going to lose your battery bank, your power supply, because your power supply transistors, the drain is touching the case. So, guys, you have to insulate your transistors. So where are we at here? 11 minutes. Don't want to keep you guys too long here. Don't mean to bore you guys, but just meaning to help others with help reduce stress, help reduce headaches. We can all learn from each other. These processes will go a lot smoother. And as always, guys, please leave your comments down below. I love questions. I love helping you guys when and where I can. Some questions I just can't answer. And yeah, as always, guys, stay safe. Keep your fingers out the rails. I'm sure the rail in this isn't very spicy, but some amps, yeah, I don't have any around, but some amps are super spicy. So keep your fingers out of them. Stay safe, guys. Catch you on the next one.